In spite of seeing so many natural and man-made calamities, we are now hurtling into one more man-made disaster. A disaster which may prove far more destructive than anything we have seen so far, simply because it will affect nearly every single person living on this planet. This new simmering disaster has the potential to stunt our growth, impair our immune system, and may even lead to severe damage to our brain, liver, kidneys, and other vital organs. It may increase incidence of life-threatening diseases like cancer and a number of other ailments that are unknown to us right now. Ironically, it's not a fictional plot of any horror film, but a fact that has been unfolding for nearly 2 decades now. Next on its target are the people of India and the food on their platter. As the traffic light turns red and vehicles on this busy Delhi road come to a screeching halt, it's time for 8-year-old Sunita to grab her income generation opportunity. Before the light turns green, Sunita demonstrates her gymnastic skills to eke out a living for herself. What is common between Sunita and nearly every single person on this planet is that we all feel hungry and we all have to eat to ensure our survival. But what will happen if the food that we eat becomes our worst enemy and instead of sustaining a survival, it starts killing and crippling us?
Food can start killing people. Which food may kill me?
Could be, yeah. If you eat the wrong sort of food, yeah.
I don't think so. I don't know.
How can it be possible?
If it is not cooked properly.
Why should food kill me?
No, if it is cooked very well and it's cooked by my mother.
No, I didn't say that something's wrong with the food.
Call me a fearmonger if you like, but the threat to our lives with the food that we eat was never so real as it is now. A criminal conspiracy by multinational corporations in the garb of genetically modified food is all set to wreak havoc with the people's health in India. If we do not wake up in time, soon we will end up having poison in the food that we eat to ensure our survival. In a country that is a melting pot of cultures and religion, food is often seen as the greatest gift of God. But our staple food items like rice, pulses and vegetables that nature has given to us are being irreparably damaged as they're being laced with genes of other living organisms.
Nature allows you to cross a wheat plant with a wheat plant. Nature allows you to cross a maize plant with a maize plant, tomato plant with a tomato plant, or a pig with a pig, horse with a horse, like that. It doesn't allow interspecies crosses. What genetic engineering is doing is you can actually cross, in that sense, you can actually cross or bring a character from, let's say, a pig into human beings, or from a human beings into one plant.
And people should know that when you mix genes this way, then you are courting disaster, because if the disease comes with it, so why should you want to use it?
The killing potential of GM food became known for the first time in 1989 when a dietary supplement, L-tryptophan, led to the death of nearly 100 people in America. It caused sickness and disability in another 10,000 people and even forced a US court to make its manufacturer Showa Denko of Japan to pay $2 billion as compensation to those affected by its consumption.
Individuals started going to doctors with all sorts of very severe symptoms. They had incredible pain, greater pain than the doctors had ever seen in their entire careers. Hair was falling out, there was memory loss, there was muscle weakness. Some people had their muscles tighten up and uncontrollably lock. The skin became leathery and painful. Hundreds, thousands of people in the United States had these symptoms, were taking L-tryptophan, but were not diagnosed. The doctors and the patients did not know there was a deadly epidemic throughout the United States. 5,000 to 10,000 people ultimately got this sickness. Some were permanently disabled. About 100 died.
If you think the tragedy caused by L-tryptophan was an isolated case of a technology going wrong, you need to think again. Offsprings of rats fed with GM soy died within 3 weeks of a trial, while many others developed multiple health problems.
In case of mice, there are ample evidence which show, including Monsanto's own studies, which show that genetically modified food can play up with their liver, can affect their kidneys, the size diminishes, can play up with their blood, can cause irritation, can cause all kinds of diseases. They're all on record. Now, if it can have on mice, I see no reason why that thing will not transfer into human beings.
Soy allergies skyrocketed in the UK soon after GM soy was introduced in the country. 12 cows died in Germany when fed with BT corn in 2001. Inhaled BT corn pollen triggered severe skin and respiratory infections and affected nearly every single person living in a village in Philippines in 2003.
This is one of the most dangerous technologies ever introduced on Earth, and it is being deployed in our food supply. It is madness.
Until unless it is proved foolproof that it has no harm for the public, don't propagate it. Propagation of something of which you are not sure of, which would create enormous damage to the life on this planet, is not acceptable by any means. It is not science, it is terrorism.
जिस तरह से आज हर घर में ब्लड प्रेशर, शुगर आदि का पेशेंट है, इन फ्यूचर जिस दिन ये जेनेटिक मॉडिफाइड फूड खाने लगेंगे देश के लोग, शायद उस दिन हर घर में कैंसर का पेशेंट होगा. ये देश के लिए बहुत खतरनाक होगा.
In spite of so many reported harmful effects of GM food, the Food and Drug Administration of America, FDA, kept on ignoring the findings and declared these food items as safe for human consumption.
One gentleman in America took the US FDA to court. 44,000 pages which questioned the harmful impacts or the relevance of GM food for human health tumbled out of the cupboards there. And the US FDA didn't have anything to answer those things.
In fact, the overwhelming consensus among the FDA's own scientists were that genetically engineered foods were unsafe and could lead to allergies, toxins, new diseases, and nutritional problems. The person in charge of policy who overruled and ignored the scientists had been recruited to the FDA from Monsanto's law firm and later became Monsanto's vice president.
It's a classic case of vested interests wreaking havoc on people's health, because institutions that have been created to protect our health are actually hand in glove.
The multinational companies who are promoting GM foods claim that after the Green Revolution, the gene revolution is the next big thing to solve global food problem. They say the application of genetic engineering increases the productivity through improved crop varieties, reduces input costs and lowers environmental hazard. They even claim that the food derived from GE crops is substantially equivalent to other conventional methods of food production.
Given the evidence that we have today, these companies are telling an absolute lie for which there is no scientific evidence whatsoever.
I'm not against genetic engineering per se. Genetic engineering can be applied to human gene therapy. It can be creating medicines in the laboratory under very carefully watched conditions. But we should not feed the products of an infant science to millions of people or release it into the environment where it can never be recalled. We don't understand the language of the DNA. Yes, I am for DNA research, genetic engineer in laboratories, in carefully controlled conditions, but not in my intestines, not in my environment.
Driven by their sole aim of making profit and controlling the food production all over the world, the biotech giants like Monsanto, Syngenta unleashed a wave of silent killers in the market. People began to report symptoms which were not known before. L-tryptophan was not the only case of allergic reaction to GM foods in the US. In 2001, the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention launched an investigation after consumers reported allergic reaction to a protein found in a bioengineered variety of corn called Starlink.
I felt my chest getting tight and it was hard to breathe. I felt like I was going to die.
I'm very concerned about this thing that's, a few multinationals and a few greedy businessmen are doing. I mean, they don't care for people, they don't care for the health of the nation or the world, just for a few bucks.
European countries initially hailed the GM food as a new revolution to solve the food crisis in the world. But they became wary of their adverse effects on people's health with the rising incidence of prostate cancer and its link to a genetically modified substance called bovine growth hormone.
There is something called a shock and awe. In Europe, what happened was they were faced first with mad cow disease and then they were faced with foot and mouth disease. Now, in both these diseases had inflicted a massive destruction of the cattle, and they had to burn cattle. Thousands and thousands of cattle were burnt alive. Now, in that particular situation, they have seen the horror of all these kinds of food and feeds. Now they realize if it can happen to animals, it can happen to human beings also.
The use of bovine growth hormone was banned, but people all over Europe became vociferous in their demand to put a ban on all kinds of GM food in their country.
We demand more studies.
That's why also we supported the demand for a moratorium, that we need to know much more about this new technology.
The opposition to GM food united the consumers, civil society groups, and farmers like never before.
I myself would never eat GM food because I do not know if it's safe or not. We don't have the relevant information, we don't have enough information about what is happening. And so I would advise you not to eat it because we don't know if it's safe.
In Switzerland, through a referendum, they even forced the government to put a 5-year moratorium on production and entry of GM food in the country.
Majority of consumers did not see any advantage, so they said, I don't want to take any risk. The same thing with the farmers. It was really their interest. They saw that they can sell better their products if they are without GM.
At a time when countries across the world are shutting their doors on GM food, dozens of crops and vegetables in India are undergoing various stages of trials simply because people in the country are largely ignorant about what GM foods are and what impact they will have on their health.
It's genetically modified in the sense of I have not really ever tried anything. I don't even know whether it is good or bad. When we don't have any other option, then we got to use it. It's very bad. Fair, and we're still alive. We have some clues to make it more sweet. I really don't know exactly what, but there is something. I don't know how.
I'll prefer organic food rather than the genetic modified food. What food are you talking about? People don't know anything about GM foods at this stage. The government doesn't know anything about GM foods at this stage. Corporations don't know much about GM foods at this point. We're in a world where we're playing with new technology which has massive implications for the environment, massive implications for food production, and massive implications for consumption. In the genetic engineering technology, we take genes from one species and put it into another species and make the genes work, that is, produce a product for which they code. Look at the way the genes are being now tinkering, or the food is now being tinkered with. Gene from pigs are being taken to put into rice. The gene from fish to tomato, gene for milk in human beings, human females, has been now inserted into rice. And now scientists are trying to say this will take care of diarrhea in human beings. Now, all these permutation combinations have actually gone beyond the ethics that the society has been living in. And I think that is again going to create, whether it's a religious issue or whether it is going to be an ethical issue or a morality issue, that I think is also going to be infringed by genetically modified foods. Taking advantage of people's ignorance and a corrupt and incompetent regulatory mechanism in the country, biotech MNCs are getting firmly entrenched in India and conducting trials over a host of vegetables and food items which will soon find their ways on our platter. Today, 56 GM crops are at different stage of trials in India, and they include brinjal, okra, potato, cabbage, cauliflower, ginger, corn, tomato, mustard, and rice that are integral part of our daily diet.
Tomorrow, you and I could be sitting down to a plate of bangan or bindi or a salad or tomatoes, and you could not trust the food on your table to give you the nutrition that you've always expected of these vegetables. There could be something toxic in it.
GM food is a big issue today in the whole world. And not only GM food, but overprocessed food, food that is not natural nor organic. The world is shifting towards organic food, natural food, unprocessed food. But here, nobody really cares about it as an issue. Even though BT cotton is the only genetically engineered crop approved for commercial cultivation in India, its disastrous consequences are there for everyone to see. Thousands of farmers who opted for BT cotton have committed suicide, while hundreds of others who used to work in BT cotton fields developed skin allergies which were not known before. India should form the organic way. They should not go to genetically modified food because we don't know yet that what are the benefits from this. But we have heard a lot about the harmful effect it can have on our health and on our society. The toxins present in BT cotton are so harmful that nearly 2,000 sheep and goats that went for grazing in BT cotton fields in rural areas of Andhra Pradesh died in no time in the year 2006. It forced the state administration to put a warning for people not to let their cattle graze where BT crop was sown. The intestines of these animals which died after eating BT cotton plants were shriveled, which means that the food that they ate was not digested, and that could be because the microorganisms that digest the food, like grass, which are present in the rumen of the cattle, simply died on account of BT toxin. If you think that the problem caused by BT cotton will be confined to farmers and the animals only, you need to think again. Because the gene that is used in BT cotton is the same which is now being used in BT brinjal. Naturally, the people are outraged and they are out in the street to register their protest. इस देश में नहीं घुसने देंगे। ये कार्रवाई हमारी उस लड़ाई की घोषणा है। ये जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड बीज का किसानों द्वारा विरोध किया जा रहा है।
If we die tomorrow, if we get cancer, it's not just cancer that we'll get, it will be passed on to our children. This is a question of our lives and it's no joke.
BT brinjal could be a catastrophe. It's got an antibiotic resistant marker gene in there which could potentially create super diseases untreatable with antibiotics. It's got a BT gene in there which might turn our intestinal bacteria into living pesticide factories, and BT has already shown to cause allergic reactions and toxic reactions. The tests that need to be done have just not been done on BT brinjal. There is a very strong critique of it from people outside the country whose credibility is not in doubt, and we ourselves have examined the data, the so-called safety data, and it's full of flaws. If you want to keep in a glass pane or glass box one BT brinjal, and you will put some insects into that, you will see, in a day or two, all those insects dying. Imagine when you eat that BT brinjal, what will happen to your body?
जब पेस्टिसाइड छिड़कने पर ही इतना नुकसान करता था, यदि उसको सीड के अंदर डाल दिया जाता है तो जैसे पौधा जहरीला हो जाता है और उसको खाने से कीड़े मर जाते हैं, उस जहरीले फलों को और सब्जियों को जब आदमी खाएगा तब आदमी स्वयं जहरीला हो जाएगा। उसके एक एक जीन्स के अंदर डिसऑर्डर्स होने लगेंगे, अनडिसिप्लिन्ड वे में ब्रेक होने लगेंगे, टूटने लगेंगे। तो आदमी को कैंसर से लेकर के, टीबी से लेकर के, आंतों की, लीवर की, किडनी की और तमाम जो है ऑटोइम्यून डिसऑर्डर्स होने लगेंगे।
This comes from California. This is from the USA. Lychee from Thailand.
The Indian government often claims that it has not allowed any GM food for human consumption in the country. But if reports about nearly 70% US food having GM contents are true, and so many US food items are entering the country, how can we say with certainty that we are not already eating GM food? We have conclusively proved that we are already eating genetically modified food. These are Doritos corn chips which are being made by PepsiCo International and is being illegally imported and being sold in the markets of this country. In May 2008, when we tested these in the German labs, we found out that these contain genetically modified corn varieties which have the potential to cause kidney and liver damages, because of which most of the European countries have banned these GM corn varieties. What's most disturbing is the fact that even after 8 months, after alerting the Health Ministry and the GEAC, no steps have been taken and these Doritos corn chips are still being sold in the markets of this country.
Doritos are not the only brand that contains genetically engineered ingredients in India. I'm at the Khan market in Delhi. Let's take a look at other brands that contain genetically engineered ingredients.
All these companies will go away.
लोकतंत्र में सबसे बड़ी ताकत जनशक्ति होती है, तो एक विराट जनशक्ति के माध्यम से पूरे देश में हम इसका पुरजोर विरोध करेंगे, क्योंकि एक साथ मरने से बेहतर है कि एक साथ वो आंदोलन करने के लिए खड़े हों। और इसके लिए हम सबसे पहले होंगे जो इसके लिए आंदोलन करने के लिए खड़े होंगे, और देश के करोड़ों लोग हमारे साथ खड़े होंगे। हम इसको नहीं आने देंगे।
As dusk falls and traffic starts thinning on the road, it's time for Sunita to go home and look forward to a well-deserved meal with her family. She may be unmindful about the safety of the food that she and her family eat, but how can we, the educated lot, leave the safety of something as vital as food to be decided by those whose sole aim is to earn profit? We have to ensure that our bodies are not enslaved by these corrupt and criminal multinationals. And we will have to force our government to put a complete ban on the production and distribution of GM food in India till its safety is not assured through extensive and impartial trials. After all, what is at stake here is our own health and our very survival.
Poison on your platter. What you eat, what you drink could actually kill you. These vegetables that you see on your television screen could well be laced with poison, pesticides, toxic levels. We're talking about internationally accepted danger mark. These are way above those internationally accepted danger mark. Toxins which can cause brain and blood cancer. They can damage your kidney, lungs and liver and disrupt your hormone functions. Why are we telling you this? Well, because these vegetables are in the market. Not just vegetables, sweets that you plan to eat this Diwali. There's contamination in your milk, in your sweets, pesticides and dangerous chemicals. And that's our focus today on Ground Zero. Poison in your sweets, in your vegetables and even milk. Contamination and adulteration are words which almost don't capture the magnitude of the crisis. This is slow poisoning which gradually weakens the body's defense mechanism, ultimately leading to a collapse. Let's first talk about milk and chemicals in your milk. In the land of Krishna, where rivers of milk are supposed to flow, let's bring you face to face with the river of poison called milk.
This is the milk that's delivered every day to thousands of households in and around Delhi. This is not cow milk or buffalo milk or even goat milk. It has been prepared by this man in a manner of few minutes. The recipe for this synthetic milk is easy beyond belief. The ingredients: liquid detergent, refined oil, urea, and sugar. It is shocking, but what comes next is stomach churning. The liquid detergent and refined oil is mixed together to form a thick white foamy lather.
ये देखिए अपने आप सफेद रंग बन रहा है. जैसे दूध की क्रीम.
A bit of milk is also added to this deadly mix to give it the original touch.
सर झाग बनाने के लिए तो वो वाला केमिकल लगाया जाता है और जो रिफाइंड इसमें रिफाइंड जो डाला ये इसमें चिकनाई के लिए. जैसे अब दूध उबालना रखा तो ऊपर मलाई आ जाता है. अच्छा. इसलिए महसूस ना हो सके कि इसमें क्या मिक्स है.
Leaving no stone unturned to make this look like original milk. Not just look, this synthetic milk will also taste like original milk when it's ready.
ये मैं दूध मीठा करने के लिए इसमें चीनी डाल दूं. ये इसमें चीनी मिला दी और मैं इसमें खाद वाला यूरिया जो खेत में डालते हैं वो वाला यूरिया.
इसमें यूरिया क्यों डाली जाती है?
यूरिया सर ग्रेविटी के लिए, उसके लिए डालते हैं.
अच्छा, कितनी मात्रा पड़ती है? अगर आप मान लीजिए 1 लीटर दूध तैयार कर रहे हैं
जी,
तो उसमें कितनी मात्रा?
लगभग 10 ग्राम.
10 ग्राम.
The same urea that's used as a fertilizer is used generously to make this synthetic milk. The final step, this poisonous mix is doubled by simply adding water to it.
वो जितना दूध चाहिए उसी क्वांटिटी से मैं पानी डाल दें.
अच्छा.
जैसे हमें 50 लीटर चाहिए और फिलहाल हमने 10 लीटर का बनाया था तो उसी हिसाब से उसी क्वांटिटी से 50 लीटर का बनाएंगे और उतना ही पानी में डालते हैं. 50 लीटर दूध तैयार आधा घंटे में बिना भैंस के, बिना किसी टेंशन के.
Poisonous milk mass produced at 1/4 the price of real milk and sold to innocent consumers for the same price as real milk. No value for the health of little children and adults who consume this milk on a daily basis.
दूध जी तो कितनी देर में तैयार हो जाएगा?
लगभग 1 घंटा.
1 घंटे में 100 लीटर दूध तैयार हो जाएगा?
जी सर, दिल्ली और उसके आसपास के इलाकों में हजारों टन रोजाना हमारे सरदना क्षेत्र से हजारों टन के हिसाब से लगभग रोजाना जा रहा यहीं से तैयार होता है.
In Delhi, Chandni for Headlines Today.
So hundreds of liters of milk prepared every hour, and there isn't a drop of real milk in this. Well, it's not just milk that we're talking about. Be it Diwali or Holi, during festival season, the demand for khoya skyrockets. That's the time the adulterators make a killing, and literally they flood the markets with adulterated khoya and unsuspecting buyers suffer. Unfortunately, the government is doing little, either at the level of the center or even the state governments. They simply satisfy themselves by carrying out a few symbolic raids. Well, this is a Headlines Today special report.
Synthetic milk made out of detergent and urea is also used to make other milk products like khoya, which in turn is used to make sweets. The ingredients used to make this khoya are equally inedible.
ये मिल्क पाउडर एक घटिया लगभग सबसे ज़्यादा सस्ता। इसके अलावा घी और रिफाइंड, ये इसमें हमने उबाला, गरम किया,
ठीक है,
और उसमें कलर मिलाए जाते हैं, और उसी के अंदर आलू उबले हुए, ताकि सस्ता पड़ सके। अब आलू या शकरकंदी 8 या 10 रुपए किलो, और मावा हमारा जा रहा है 150 रुपए किलो। अब 1 क्विंटल पे लगभग खर्चा आ रहा हमारा 1000 रुपए का, माल जा रहा हमारा 15,000 रुपए।
The process of making this chemical khoya is simple and short.
ये वही दूध है जो हमने यूरिया, रिफाइंड और चीनी मिलाकर तैयार किया था।
Essence is added to this synthetic milk so it smells like real khoya.
लगभग 8 या 10 दिन तक इसको कुछ नहीं बिगड़ेगा।
The mix is constantly stirred while milk powder and grated potatoes are added to it in generous quantities. In just 10 minutes, the chemical khoya is all ready.
10 मिनट में आपका मावा तैयार।
जी, इतने ही टाइम में हमारा 10-12 किलो तैयार हो जाता है।
अच्छा,
लगभग एक दिन में हम जो है करीब 10 क्विंटल के आसपास रेडी तैयार कर देते हैं।
A simple recipe to a big scam that hits an all-time high during Diwali. With Arun Kumar Singh in Delhi, Chandni for Headlines Today.
If you thought that it's only milk that's harmful, think again. Even your food is loaded with toxins. The concentration sometimes so high that it can cause death. They may look fresh and green, but there's a reason your vegetable look, well, almost too good to eat. They're actually not worth eating at all. A non-governmental organization has tested samples of vegetables across the country, and the truth is these vegetables are loaded with at least 4 banned chemicals. Chemicals that can even cause cancer.
Brain cancer, kidney and lung damage, neurological problems. The next time you go shopping for your favorite veggies, take a moment to think. Are you giving your family the diseases we just listed out? Is there poison in your shopping bag? If the results of a recent survey are anything to go by, then your plate of vegetables is actually a pesticide platter. Your vegetables are laced with chemicals banned all over the world. This alarming truth came to light after an analysis by a voluntary organization, Consumer Voice.
There is rash and excessive use of insecticides and pesticides in the farm sector, as a result of which the fruits and vegetables that are brought from the farm sector to the wholesale mandis and then to the retail and to our kitchens, they contain pesticides far beyond what can be comfortable for human health.
Consumer Voice picked up 193 samples of 35 different vegetables from markets in Bangalore, Delhi and Kolkata. These were then tested for 106 pesticides. The alarming result, 4 of the 5 banned chemicals were found in these samples. Banned substances like chlordane, endrin and ethyl parathion were found in almost all samples of bitter gourd. Pesticide residue was also recovered from vegetables like cauliflower, tomato, ladyfinger, brinjal, cucumber, cabbage, potatoes and onions. Consumer Voice has now called upon the government to wake up and reform the agriculture sector before it's too late.
We are calling upon Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, the Honorable Minister of Health, to call upon by giving a direction to the Food Standards and Safety Authority to overhaul the MRR limits laid down under Indian law, under the jurisdiction of his ministry, and bring them in line with international standards, which are the standards laid down by the Codex Alimentarius Commission.
This study definitely exposes a very dangerous situation that an Indian consumer is faced with. It's high time that the authorities take note of this and ensure that the Indian consumer lives a healthy life. Experts also believe that there could be a very strong lobby that must be forcing the authorities to actually overlook such situations. Mohsin Mughal in Delhi for headlines.
Yes, you are serving your family a poison platter. The culprit? Pesticides in vegetables. The pesticides used are sometimes 750 times higher than the set European standards. But here in India, these pesticides are used freely. The result? Slow but sure death.
Clodane, Endrin, Heptacor, ethyl parathion. These pesticides are banned internationally. But all four of these toxins are found in ample measure in vegetables randomly selected from markets across India. These chilling results are from a survey by a Delhi-based NGO, Consumer Voice. The study says that the amount of pesticides used in eatables in India is as much as 750 times European standards. This means there's more poison on your plate than you can imagine. They're in every bite you take. These pesticides can cause brain
Agencies is an absolute imperative. Question is there the will to do that? Pesticides being found in food is nothing new, but what is worrying and alarming is the fact that more pesticides are being used in the food. And that is why government has to be more stringent if it has to stop pesticides being used in these fruits and vegetables. But the fact remains, for people like you and me, how will we ever make out whether these vegetables are toxin free or not? Perhaps awareness will help. With Mohsin Mughal and camera person Manish Mathur, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi for Headlines Today.
Rasgullas are an all-time favorite, but will you ever be able to eat one? Once you've seen the pictures that we're about to put on your television screen. You've seen Rasgullas neatly wrapped in your favorite mithai shop, but these are actually rotten, recycled and repackaged amidst filth and squalor. See the pictures and you decide for yourself if you want these sweets on your table this Diwali. Harish Sharma and Arun Singh bring you this Headlines Today special report.
Mouth-watering, tantalizing, yummy. Sweets of all shapes and sizes that leave you salivating. A common sight in shops during Diwali. But beware, the reality of these sweetmeats is extremely bitter. You could just be gorging on poison. Headlines Today traveled to various places in and around the national capital and busted the sweet factories which actually churn out poison. One such place is Mandavli in East Delhi. Our reporters, posing as retailers, reached a sweet factory and what we witnessed was shocking. Rasgullas placed in large containers lying in the most unhygienic conditions. Still reeling under the shock, we met the owner of the factory, Rinku. Rinku claimed
His factory supplies nearly 50 tons of rasgullas every day to all the major sweet shops in Delhi. Our reporter struck a deal of 1,000 kgs of rasgullas, but the rates that Rinku offered surprised us.
रसगुल्ला क्या रेट पड़ेगा? बड़ी अच्छी नहीं बताइए जो जायज है देने वाला। तो 75 की दुकानों की सप्लाई चल रही, 75 की आती है, 75 की दुकानों की।
Just 75 rupees a kilo for rasgullas that cost nothing less than 150 to 200 rupees in the market. Don't be surprised. Substandard and adulterated ingredients go into the making of these rasgullas. What's more, we also stumbled upon how stale German-infested rasgullas are again reused to churn out new ones. And these are packaged in metallic foils and supplied to the famous sweet shops.
आपसे ये कौन लेके जाते हैं दुकान में? लेके जाता है।
The expose has proved beyond doubt how gorging on these yummy rasgullas and other sweets could prove disastrous this Diwali. With Harish Sharma and Arun Singh in Delhi, Maladas headlines today.
And tin rasgullas that you get at some of the top shops are a health hazard. Tests have found out that these branded canned rasgullas have traces of nickel, lead, and even microorganisms that are found in these tins.
If you thought that branded, packaged rasgullas were the safest option this Diwali, then think again. Because even these seemingly good quality sweets sold by top brands have been found to have disease-causing microorganisms. Not just that, they also have traces of heavy metals such as lead and nickel. The tests have been conducted by NGO Consumer Voice.
ये हमने 8 ब्रांड रसगुल्ले के हमने टेस्ट किए हैं। वो टेस्ट रिपोर्ट हमने काफी जल्दी इस बार निकाला है। जो हमने 2 चीजें पाए हैं जो खतरनाक कंज्यूमर के लिए है, वो ये है कि एक तो जो माइक्रोबायोलॉजिकल सब्सटेंसेस हैं, यानी कि जो कीड़े मकोड़े जो जिसे आप आम शब्दों में कहेंगे, वो पाए गए कैंड रसगुल्ले के अंदर, वो आपके लिए सेहत के लिए हानिकारक है।